everyone. I'm Dana Perino along with Kennedy, Marie Harf, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City on this Friday. This is The Five.
Yes.
Reports of a divide inside the Democratic Party. Moderates now facing threats and political retribution if they work with Republicans. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi reportedly scolding more than 24 Democrats who broke rank to support a Republican amendment in a gun control bill this week. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez taking it a step further by threatening to put those Democrats on a list for a primary challenge if they vote with the GOP in the future. This is very interesting because how did they win in the midterms, Greg? It wasn't necessarily the left. It was in those moderate swing districts where they have to be able to vote as their constituents want.
I like how you asked me that question and then you answered it.
I did that. It's called leading the witness.
Fantastic.
Leading the witness.
I need to rest my brain after beating Jesse yesterday on Tucker.
Yeah.
Was it that hard?
Yeah.
How many times
Good point.
did it come up today?
It'll come up every segment. Okay, this strategy, to your point, mistakenly gives the power to the very people that they're trying to punish. Suddenly moderates and kind of independent minds have like the power of 10 of their peers. Like think about like
they're like the Freedom Caucus.
Think about like what's his name, Rand Paul. Every time there has to be a vote, everybody has to go to Rand Paul. They all have to run to Rand Paul and see, Rand, would you do this? Would you do that? And also, remember Susan Collins with the Kavanaugh thing?
Yes.
It's great to be that person, the person that everybody has to wonder and worry about. I love stalemates. One of the great things about your parents fighting is that they overlook the stuff you're doing, you know, so you can stay out later and they don't notice in the liquor cabinet every bottle got slightly less.
So fought a lot, I bet.
Yes, well, not as much as I would have liked. But so what I mean is less work gets done in the government with stalemates. Stalemates, it's kind of its own form of limited government.
Right, when they're not doing anything. Usually the stock market is happier, too.
Yes.
When the government's not doing anything. Would you like to have been a fly on the wall at this meeting, Jesse?
Yes, definitely. Dana,
Yeah?
let's be honest here. There is a statistic in sports called plus or minus.
Oh, yeah, it's hard.
It measures the player's impact on the game, when they're on the bench and when they're on the field, and how the other team's scoring on the opposing player.
Sports planning.
Did I just mansplain?
Yes, you did.
But I welcome it.
Okay, good, but I thought you needed it.
I do need it. Plus or minus.
AOC, if you look at it, Republicans are scoring so many points because of AOC. If you think about the Green New Deal, socialism, abolish ICE, and then being okay with illegal immigrants crossing the border to go buy guns and then not telling anybody that the illegals are trying to buy guns, that is so crazy. If the Democrats lose the House in 2020, they're going to be Democrats pointing their finger at AOC. And on top of that, she wants to create a civil war. This is like, she's like the Steve Bannon of the left now. Remember what happened with the Tea Party? You get some good candidates like a Rubio or a Cruz, and then you get your Aikens, and you get some crazy people.
O'Donnell.
Christina the Witch.
I'm not a witch, I'm you.
Right. But, you know, I love when Democrats fight each other. I just, sit back and relax and love it.
To Jesse's point, take a look at this poll, Kennedy. This was the one in the Wall Street Journal. Question about Medicare for all. So in November of 2018, when the election was happening, that was about 30% support. Where is it today? 12%.
It's a hell of a chart, Dana.
What do you think about that chart?
I think it's a great chart.
Thank you.
Excellent chart.
Thank you. I mean, I think it's because we're talking about the issues rather than just about personalities.
And that's fantastic, but I think the problem with progressives is they feel the cult of personality will sell the idea. The problem is, you know, voters are more tuned in than they have been in the past because everyone is talking about politics nowadays. One of my bosses pointed out that this is the new water cooler. It used to be the Kardashians, and now it's President Trump and Congress. And so people go one step further on a lot of issues, and they go, wait a second, what does this cost? And that's how, you know, and Maria and I have talked about this a lot. Moderate Democrats who have made inroads in the party in critical parts of the country, and Nancy Pelosi and AOC, a brand new freshman congresswoman, is telling them they have to vote in lockstep. Do you think that's going to be popular with their purple constituencies back home? No way. If they throw off the blob and show some independence, they are much more electable. And if I want this job for a long time, and by the way, I don't know who would want this job. If you've got people telling you if you don't vote a certain way, if you show any independence or logic at all, you're going on a list, that's a horrible job.
That's right. And Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, with her list, apparently Congresswoman Torres Small, also a freshman. She won that seat in New Mexico, too.
New Mexico, right.
And it was a very close race. It's right there on the border. And apparently she stood up in the meeting, Marie, and she said, you don't know how hard it is to actually run in a district where it's hard. I mean, obviously, AOC beat the incumbent Democrat.
In a very liberal
But she
district.
didn't have to run in a very tough race.
And I think Democrats are seeing a little bit of what the Republicans went through, and they're still seeing it, right? You're having very hardcore right-wing folks threatening to primary Republicans. That's why so many moderate Republicans didn't run in 2018.
That's true.
Because they didn't want to get that kind of inter-party primary. Look, these members who won in 2018, the moderate Democrats, I do not think they are going to fall lockstep in line with AOC. And I don't think AOC supporting primary challengers in these districts will actually work. If we look at these moderate districts or moderate states, in 2018, the Democrats that won the primaries were moderates. They beat much more progressive. Look at Virginia in the governor's race, for example. Tom Perriello, really progressive. He was beat by Ralph Northam. He lost. So I think that...
I bet you wish the other guy had won.
That's actually...
You mean Ed Gillespie?
Yes, that other guy
I don't wish that. But that's actually been an interesting discussion, Jesse. But no, I think that AOC is very good at getting people to talk about her. The question that will face voters is who's done something for you? And the moderate Democrats, I think, have plans to say, here's what I voted on that would have benefited you. Here's how I've tried to help you. And she is really, I mean, she is getting so much grief from inside the party for threatening to primary people when she's not done anything yet in Congress.
Can I add something to that very quickly? Sure. Because if you're talking about moderate Democrats, they're the ones who are coming up with ideas to push forward an agenda, which is the opposite of what Democratic leadership is doing, especially in the House. They don't have ideas. They have resistance. And even though Nancy Pelosi...
Let me grab this other topic here because there's another example of liberal outrage. Joe Biden forced to apologize after making this statement about Mike Pence.
The fact of the matter is, it was followed on by a guy who's a decent guy, our vice president, who stood before this group of allies and leaders and said, I'm here on behalf of President Trump. And there was dead silence.
After receiving tons of backlash for calling Pence a decent guy, Biden backtracked, tweeting in part, quote, there is nothing decent about being anti-LGBTQ rights, and that includes the vice president. So, Greg, you can't even, say someone's a nice guy even if you disagree with them.
You know, you can believe that Pence is incorrect in his beliefs and still see Biden as a really weak person because he didn't change his mind. He folded to a mob on social media. I mean, if he gets that easily spooked, which is the opposite of being a leader, how is he going to handle the Twitter mob or even Trump in a debate? I mean, if you fold that quickly, Joe should have said, you know what? Pence was where I was, 15 years ago. And do I dislike who I was 15 years ago? No, I thought I was a pretty good guy. I still think he's a pretty good guy. It's also interesting how one religion gets the shaft a lot on this, but another religion doesn't.
What do you make of that in terms of, I think that's a really good point. If Joe Biden had said, look, a leadership position, if the #2 issue in the country is a worry about polarization, is a way for him to deal with it, to be the leader that says, actually, you know what, we can all do this. We're all Americans.
Yeah, he caved to the resistance. And you know my motto, Dana.
What?
Never apologize. Like I said, it makes you look weak and soft.
The art of the Jesse.
Yes.
Served you so well.
In 2020, it has. And in 2020, it's going to be the Democrats who apologize for everything and Trump who apologizes for nothing. So it's going to be a great clash. And to Greg's point, Joe Biden was an indecent man just 5 years ago or 10 years ago when he had the same position on traditional marriage. It doesn't make you anti-LGBTQ. Do I have that right?
Yeah, got it.
If you're against traditional marriage, you can be Christian and not hate gay people like they're trying to smear Pence as. And didn't the Trump administration just push for a worldwide decriminalization of homosexuality? He doesn't get any credit there.
Marie?
I think what this lesson tells us is that what we are seeing in many of these primary states out on the road now that candidates are talking to voters is that voters care about a very different set of things than the online Twitter mob. And so if people running in this primary want to reach primary voters, they cannot suck up their time and energy doing what Greg says, getting tied into the mob, responding to everything, because when you look at issues even like Elizabeth Warren and the Native American issue, voters aren't asking her about it.
That's so true. And you know what? You have a good perspective because you're not on Twitter.
I am not on
Twitter. And I admire that Democrats so much. Kennedy, a last word.
No, I think Greg and Marie have it absolutely right. You know, Greg's right. And
Whoa,
that,
whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought I
Jesse,
said something coherent.
Yeah, you know what?
Never apologize.
This segment is about winners. If you had won last night, you would have gotten a shout
Ouch.
out. But you cannot fold to the mob, and you cannot anticipate them, and you also cannot pacify them, so don't even try. And this election is going to be very different than 2016. It's not just going to be acrimonious. Democrats have to decide, do they want a cheap, pale impression of President Trump and, you know, to do the kind of things and sling the kind of insults that they see?
Right.
Or do they want someone who is actually strong and can lead the country? Because sometimes being strong means saying, you know what,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna talk about identity politics every time I open my mouth, because again, you're not talking to the people who are going to
And
vote
just
for
blaze
against
that trail. All right, when it comes to investigating President Trump, Democrats are just getting started. What they're planning next.
Still no evidence of Russian collusion. Democrats have a backup plan to try to take Trump down. Investigate everybody. Lawmakers are promising to unleash a slew of new investigations into the president, the White House, and the Trump Organization. This includes a growing list of potential witnesses, and Democrats say they're just getting started.
We've got about 5 committees that are looking at different aspects of the Trump administration.
There are at least 4 or 5 areas where there is very credible evidence that the president committed very serious crimes.
The Trump people thought that they could get away with anything, and we're bringing some of this to light now.
The American people deserve to know whether Donald Trump is functionally a president or an organized crime boss.
I think we are moving into territory that is very perilous for the president and cannot be ignored by the Congress.
All right, Marie, listen to these
Yes, Jim.
examples of what they want to investigate. How Trump humiliated Sessions.
That's not okay.
How he
I can
called,
give you the answers.
oh, I have many more. How he called the press the enemy of the people. How he railed against the Ninth Circuit. They want to investigate his company, his foundation, his charity, and his family members, and get his tax returns. I mean, they're investigating a person, not actual events.
Oversight is a tough thing, I know, when you get to be in the majority and the people put you there.
I think
in
they're
part-
nearsighted.
In part because they wanted more oversight. Look, all of those entities you mentioned are already under investigation, whether it's the Southern District of New York or other folks, Bob Mueller, when it comes to Russia and obstruction of justice. These are all under investigation. There are committees tasked with oversight, and I think that's the appropriate thing to do. I also think Democrats have to, at the same time, put forward a policy agenda. Next week, they'll be voting on their bill that tries to reform how we do campaigns, some of the campaign finance issues, making
No one
election
cares
day.
about that.
Well, actually, I actually do, and I think a lot of voters do.
No,
Jesse.
they care about health care and education.
Well, they also have
and-
health care bills they're putting forward
Well-
and other policy agendas they're putting
Well,
forward.
they got
So-
a swing at the
I-
Obamacare, and they failed.
Wait,
Kennedy,
we're not the ones who failed to repeal and replace after running on it
No,
for 10 years.
Yeah, Obamacare was just a failure.
No,
Kennedy,
actually, it's more popular than the Trump tax cuts today.
Yeah, don't let them get away with it.
When the Republicans were in charge of oversight, they actually investigated real events.
I'm sorry,
like
what?
the IRS targeting scandal, Fast and Furious, Benghazi, the VA scandal. People actually died then, and people's constitutional rights were violated. It just seems like they're just going after one guy this time.
Yeah, innocent Americans. You know, when you're talking about Benghazi and you're talking about the VA scandal, we still don't have satisfactory answers to some of those queries. My advice for Democrats is if the president did something wrong, figure out what it is in advance. Instead of launching 1,000 ships, figure out 3 or 4 instead of throwing so much spaghetti at the wall, because at some point you're going to have an empty plate and people are going to be hungry.
I'm hungry right now just talking about pasta. Do you think there are any legitimate oversight inquiries that the Democrats have that you say that, that's fine?
Out of the list that you sent, they're too vague. I think that they're perhaps, they're going to definitely try on the point that I was making yesterday about when AOC asked about the money laundering
the
and the
tax
insurance
things, yeah.
fraud. And I think that was very specific and smart, like the way that she laid that out. I don't know if it goes
please.
that way.
I wonder who wrote that for her.
What?
Ooh,
It
you got
actually
the
was.
side
Well, I don't
glance.
understand. I mean, anyway, Elijah,
Real estate evaluation. It's driving me crazy.
that wasn't what it was about. But
How
anyway,
many homes do you have, Greg?
Elijah Cummings was very offended the other day during the hearing when all of these Republicans were saying, this is the first hearing we're having and that's outrageous. And he says, oh, no, that's not the case.
Right.
We actually did, the very first hearing they did was on prescription drug prices, which was the #1 issue, right? Healthcare. The second one was about voting rights. There are a lot of state legislatures that are trying to change the laws right now. So we should all be paying attention to that. So if they want to keep the House and have a chance of bringing back the Senate, they're going to have a record to run on, and running on going after the president and headlines on other cable stations are probably not going to help.
Greg, I'm going to go to you last since you beat me last night, so go right ahead.
Beat you like a drum, a weak, small drum. Anyway, a pathetic small drum. Is there any limits to investigations? So that's the scary part. It's like there's nobody there saying, hold on, deep breath, let's take one. It's like they're shotgunning beer right now, at the beach.
I'm switching parties.
Yeah, they're investigating into why they don't like somebody.
Yeah.
That's what this is about. So the oversight is getting a little overdone, and they're spending money, really, our money, on therapy. If you think about it, all of this is a direct result, obviously, of 2016. Trump won, so every investigation and anti-Trump story is kind of an ointment for that wound. But the problem is a lot of these ointments aren't working because Kavanaugh, Covington, Smollett, the BuzzFeed bombshell, Cohen, these are all supposed to be the opiates that are designed to soothe Jim Acosta and people like him. But it's so bad that it's not working. You know what it is? It's like... if you're comparing drugs that are long-lasting, these kinds of moments are like crack, so they last about 15 minutes. It's not like a really long high.
So you're saying if you have Trump derangement syndrome, the doctor will prescribe harsh oversight.
Yes, exactly.
That's the only thing that's going to make him feel better.
I also think that it is a backlash from 2014 and 15 and the Benghazi hearings.
Yeah.
And a lot of career staff who were there on the Hill. They've
been waiting for it.
Yeah,
Absolutely right.
This is the first time they've had the gavel back, so they're going to try to go for it.
These are also
People
real,
actually died in
credible
Benghazi.
allegations of wrongdoing, though, by the president and senior members
Trump
of the
was mean to
administration.
Sessions?
Dana's
That's
right.
credible?
Dana's right.
No.
Stop spreading it so thin.
Right, but
what happens when you spread pizza crust too thin? It falls apart.
These are
and then
You and your
real.
food analogies.
I know.
It's
These
that
are
time.
real allegations of wrongdoing, you
o'clock.
guys.
All right, wait until you hear how one media outlet's trying to excuse Jussie Smollett's hate crime hoax.
Base, and I came to get down. All right, the Hollywood Reporter apparently making new excuses for Jussie Smollett. The magazine suggesting the stress of fame could be the reason the Empire actor allegedly faked a hate crime, saying, quote, did the pressures of childhood fame or a struggling music career play a role in causing him to concoct what police are now deeming an elaborate hoax? Greg, I will go to you first because you have covered media and celebrities for a long,
That I
long
have.
time.
And he knows stress.
I do. By the way, that's true. There's nobody more stressed out than I am, and I've never faked a hate crime.
You should be on a hate crime
I should be doing fake hate crimes up and down Fifth Avenue the way I am. That the whole cover of this thing, putting them on the cover. This industry, I think, is ashamed, and they cannot accept how their delusion made them vulnerable to a hoaxer. And with the explosion of hate crime media attention, there's no immune system. The industries have no immune system, so you can be vulnerable to any predatory predatory? Is that a word? Sure. Hoaxer. Somebody who could just come in and just say, I have been beaten. And because we're now in an era of we must believe everybody, which is the exact opposite of what your parents were telling you. Your parents taught you to be skeptical, that people don't tell the truth a lot of the times. But now we are told to believe everybody, when in fact we can take it seriously, but never abandon your skepticism. But they can't let go. I think they're really, really ashamed. Right now, one of the leaders of the Me Too movement had to step down. I can't remember the organization she ran.
Yeah.
But
Time's Up.
Time's Up, to defend her own son from sexual harassment. So apparently she thinks the accuser is lying. And that's the thing. We have to get back to the idea of skepticism and instead of continually turning people into victims, because it just encourages victimhood.
And also, your parents teach you to be skeptical. They also tell you, don't lie, because if you keep lying, you're the kid who cried wolf, and all of a sudden no one's going to believe you. But there is a difference between an excuse and an explanation. And I think what we're seeing here is an excuse. It's not an explanation. And what they're saying is, it's so hard being famous. It's so hard being young and being famous. Therefore, the stress of that is going to cause you to do all sorts of untoward things. If that were the case, the entire cast of Full House And everyone who's ever worked at Nickelodeon would be out faking horrific political crimes. Marie,
That's
you're,
true.
You're giving me the...
Well, some of them did some bad stuff. No, I think I liked your point about the difference between an excuse and an explanation, because I am actually curious what the explanation is. Clearly, he has psychological problems, and the fact that those problems led him to fake this, when statistically there are more victims of real hate crimes now that should be believed.
Not true.
The FBI says it's up 17% of the
Oh, no, not that statistic.
God, man.
Not that. Can I, do you want
That's true.
No, but can I just...
No, it hasn't.
Can we do it in the
it hasn't.
commercial?
This is
Sure,
where
I'll
we
do it in the
need
commercial.
some skepticism.
No.
This is where we need to employ some skepticism.
Wait,
How
let
many
me-
departments are contributing to those statistics? How often
Can
are they
I finish
contributing?
my point?
What is the criteria
Okay.
for contribution? Please finish.
The week this happened, there was a real hate crime proven, perpetrated in another part of the country, but because it wasn't a celebrity, nobody cared.
Well, you mean the guy that got punched at Berkeley?
No, Jesse, not the guy that got punched
Oh,
at Berkeley.
political hate
This
crime.
isn't funny. Like, hate crimes are actually a problem in
No,
the
no,
country.
but we're
I'm not making a joke. That was a legit hate crime.
Yeah.
My point
That's
is,
actually got filmed.
this person did something that hurt the ability of real victims
True.
to be believed.
Yes.
And I am genuinely curious what the explanation is, and I don't think people should make excuses. I was kind of agreeing with you.
I know. But the thing, the
You
thing
don't
that
have to jump on me.
No, but we didn't jump on you. That statistic has been a problem here on this show, because every time we try to explain that it's about 1,000 additional agencies that were added. So it wasn't about rate of increase. It was about
So
just reporting.
There's still a lot.
And
Okay,
the
but
reporting
there's-
is arbitrary. I want to bring Dana in.
But there's still a lot which are bad.
So to me, this is the classic rich people problems. Remember Winona Ryder when she was like shoplifting?
Oh, I
And
love
this was
that
also-
Winona. That was the
it
best
also like, oh, it's
Winona.
because she's so stressed. Because no, also like real stress is like single moms trying to raise their kids and work 2 jobs. Real stress is like when your child is in jail or going through something difficult. Real stress is when you lose your job because of government regulations. Like that's actually stressful. This is baloney.
Yeah, and by the way, you don't see single moms who are trying to balance everything out shoplifting.
$100 grand an episode, and he's stressed
Right,
out.
that's-
Well, fame did not stress him out because he's not that famous.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who he was until
wanted
we
to
heard
be more
about this.
famous.
I still am a huge Empire fan.
You are?
Great show.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I'm not a big fan of baseball. Oh, Empire.
Oh, yeah. Silence.
Would you like
I would say this. I would say that the media is just covering up for this guy because he's one of them. And this is what happens if you're a Democrat. You know, you can wear blackface if you're Northam. You could punch some reporter out if you're Baldwin. You could perpetrate a hate crime hoax if you're Smollett. And there will always be people on the left that will downplay what you did. Oh, he's just stressed. Oh, Baldwin,
Same
he
thing
loves to
happens on the
punch
right, Jesse.
people.
Baloney.
You know, Northam, you know, he'll get through it. That's what happens when you're a Democrat. They run cover for
The
you.
other thing, in that same magazine, didn't they have a column by Ellen Page?
Yes,
And
exactly
she did
right.
not even like address the fact that she, blamed Pence, et cetera.
No, indeed. Up
Also,
next.
I beat Jesse last night, just so
Again?
I had to do it every segment.
Forgot to get it in that
He
thing.
beat him so hard, he beat him again. And guess what? You're probably doing something very naughty on your phone. Coming up, we've got the new tech rules for conversation. How many are you breaking? It's a felony. Plus,
Like me, you hate this new digital age. Everyone is on their phones right now being ridiculous here. From texting to email to social media, all rules have changed, and there's virtually no face-to-face interaction anymore. Well, this week, USA Today put out a list of what they think are the new do's and don'ts in communicating. So, do we agree with these? And then we came up with some of our own, which we'll get to in a few minutes. Let's start with USA Today's. Don't respond with one-word text like OK or LOL.
Dumb.
Don't like your own post, Jesse.
Absolutely.
Don't take hours to respond without an excuse. You don't actually have to leave a voice message.
oh, thank you, Jesus.
And because I won't listen, and try not to deliver bad news via text. Okay, so let's start with our thoughts on USA Today's. Jesse?
Oh, yeah. Breaking up over text is bad?
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Okay.
What were
Noted.
the other ones? Can we put them back up on the screen?
Well, I think some of them were...
Like not using one-word answers, not
I
like
use
voicemail.
LOL OK all the time, and I'll take a very long time to respond to some text.
Don't you find it ironic that this is from USA Today, which is basically the doormat for rest homes? I mean, it's not actually up to date. This story was maybe 4 years ago.
I liked some of these, though.
What were the other ones?
Yeah.
Some of them, but it actually is pretty outdated because you don't have to use one-word responses now because now you just highlight the
emojis.
text
Oh, the
and you can
likes.
add a heart,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
ha-ha, to exclamation points. You can add all sorts of things and emojis. I mean, they don't even bring that in because you can button your conversation, and it's not an improv class. Not every text has to be yes and, where you go on and welcome more and more response. Sometimes a text thread doesn't have to go on for 6 hours.
But I think, do we leave voice messages? Do you guys leave?
No.
Okay, so
Rarely.
we agree with that one.
Those can also be used in court, so definitely not.
Jesse's always thinking about the court.
It says if you
not
have time to
apologizing.
post on Snapchat, you have time to respond to text messages. That was one of their rules.
Is that my
too.
mom?
Maybe. Yeah.
Your mom's on Snap?
What?
This is
You have a
these are
Twitter account?
but these are nothing problems. These are nothing problems. We all know the big problem is mobs. Like this is write a story about that.
But this is about personal etiquette. So we each came up with our own rules
Yes.
for our personal electronic etiquette. Mine was tell someone if you want them to respond in a certain amount of time to an email. Like my job isn't to respond to you in 10 minutes. If you need an answer, say, can you get back to me tonight?
Interesting.
What about ASAP? Can I say I need it ASAP?
Sure, yes,
Okay.
and I do the same to people. And if I don't say that, if I get a response in a week, I'm cool with it.
Okay, I like it.
I like
That's
it.
mine. Jesse, what was yours?
Mine was on a group text. If everyone's being really funny and saying all these great things, and then I try to chime in late, and then no one ever responds at the end, it hurts my feelings. I need acknowledgement. It makes me
happen
But you
a
should have
lot?
responded
It
sooner.
kind of does.
Happens
Yeah,
a
I'm
lot.
just not as good as it, you know.
Okay, Dana?
Mine is about noise and notifications. So if you are in a group, if you are in a public place, like at a restaurant or at the airport lounge, for example, and if you're on your phone, everybody's on their phone, so you're constantly there. So you don't need a ding, ding, ding. Or mom train noise. Like, you don't need any of that if you're actually on your phone.
Do
So
that ding, ding,
please
ding,
turn it
ding
off.
again.
Ding, ding, ding.
Somebody's got to tape that for a ringtone.
Ding, ding, ding. Anyway, I can't stand it. I really can't. The noise.
That is amazing.
I agree. I agree on a trainer. It happens, and people don't think that it's annoying when it's
Quiet, quiet car?
quiet car.
Quiet car.
Can't
The worst is now that they have a different earbud jack on newer iPhones.
Yeah.
And some of our golden Americans don't like our golden.
Wait, am I not
So
getting
now
the
they
joke?
watch.
No, it's just the
They
the
watch
sound.
shows at full volume on planes. And
or
so
they FaceTime loudly in public. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. Greg, what was your rule?
I'm trying to remember. Put it up there so I can read it. Don't start something you can't finish.
Is this about social media?
No, this was for next.
This is a golden
Oh no,
rule.
I tweeted this to
is that your
someone I
bronze
met at the Port
sculpture in art
Authority.
school?
No, that's not. You know when somebody starts a conversation with you, and then says, "Hey, Gutfeld, what's going on?" Hey, what's going? And then that's it. And I'm going like, "Are they checking? Were they checking on
I
me?"
do the check-in.
Yeah, they do the check. It's like this is meant for something else. I don't like that at all.
like the beginning of an
I don't like
intervention?
texting. Period.
yeah.
Yeah. Kenzie,
Period.
what was yours?
Mine
Periods.
are pretty straightforward. No drunk tweeting.
Oh.
Yeah.
And where's the other one? Oh, we can't use the other one
Wait,
because
what was-
I said a naughty word. Don't show your hindquarters on Instagram. No one needs to do that unless you're a lingerie model or working for a proctology group. No one needs to.
Ooh, so I'm okay then.
Is this a problem on your Instagram feed?
Not mine. Everyone's in the world. And also, I have young girls. And I
yeah.
try and tell them, like, don't go for the easy likes. If you're going to put something out there,
Oh, I see.
have it be smart and thoughtful.
Yes.
And if I ever see booty shots, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Kennedy, I said it was a mistake. It was
Although,
for
in
a
your
different
defense,
Kennedy.
It was a butt dial.
You look great in those.
Oh,
spandex.
So we've solved all of the social media etiquette here.
Good job, Marie.
I know. It was good. Okay, so anyways, it's Friday, so that means Fan Mail Friday is up.
What I want
No.
from
Mr.
Greece.
Bungle?
No
Nice
one
cover
wants
story.
that.
No,
It's a great cover.
it's a great cover from Greece. You're the one that I want. Done.
Those were words?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a cover.
Sounded like someone had something
Yes.
stuck in his
No,
throat.
it wasn't Mr. Bungle.
Who is it?
I can't remember, but Mr. Bungle is a great band.
Amen.
R.I.P. All right, first question. Thank you for that nice Nexio. That's the TV talk for whatever. If you could disinvent one thing, think about that. If you could disinvent one thing, what would it be, Dana? And it can't be any digital phone stuff. We already did that segment. You can't say, oh, the phone. Come on. Jesse? want
High
me to-
heels?
High heel. Ooh, that's good.
good one.
That's good.
Then you would never know.
Yeah, you would never know.
Right.
And it's only designed for one thing. Jesse?
I would
Go on, Greg.
uninvent Tucker's quiz so I would not lose to you.
That was very creative.
I brought it up so you didn't have to.
Yeah, but nicely done. Kennedy?
Oh, disinvent one thing. This is very tough, Greg.
Just say war.
I know, I was going to say something serious. Try not to.
I would disinvent the atom bomb.
Oh, well, that's
Of course.
Can I have a second one?
Well, yes.
I would disinvent the song you played in the beginning of the segment.
all right, Marie. What's your?
Well, I was going to say Twitter.
Oh,
But I know I'm not supposed to. So
No,
then
you
I'll
can
say
say. That's good.
Oh, I can?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's not really. That's. But I would.
Twitter.
We were better people before Twitter.
Amen.
You know what? I was.
agree.
I'm answering this seriously. The puffer test that tests your eye pressure is the worst thing in the
I like it.
What if it saves
Jeez,
lives?
you
like it?
Only Dana Perina would like the puffer test.
You like it?
You like getting air shot at your eyeball.
It only takes a second.
It is the worst feeling
Yeah,
beforehand.
it's the anticipation.
It's,
of it.
it's
Worse
the worst.
than a dental drill.
Yeah, it is. I would rather get drilled.
No,
I'd rather get my nerve hit.
Rather get drilled.
I'd rather get drilled at the dentist. Let me finish that.
With Facebook
I
Fridays.
disagree.
Yeah?
I disagree.
Well, this is another good question. Frenchie Firecracker asks,
Oh, yeah.
if you were given $1 million, I presume, to buy only one item of your choice, Kennedy,
Yes.
what would it be?
$1 million car. I've always wanted a super fancy, multi-$100,000 car. I love cars. I have car envy. The weird exotics with special things that go super fast.
Yeah.
And perhaps hover. I would want one of those.
A really zooped up Celica.
Yes, exactly right.
Who can forget the
Woo!
Celicas? I had a Toyota Celica briefly. Marie?
So it's one of my dreams to give enough money to the Ohio State University to get a tailgating spot, a permanent one for every game. And I think you have
That's a
to,
dream.
you have to give a lot of money to get that for Ohio State football. So I would put it all towards that.
Good for
Wow.
you. That's neat.
I know what Jesse. You're going to have something actually very shrewd, aren't you?
Yes.
I figured.
I would buy $1 million of stock, and then in the Trump economy, it's going to get up.
Until the impeachment, then it's going to go down.
Then you can only buy one stock. What stock is it?
Who's the guy from Omaha?
My pillow?
Warren Buffett. My pillow.
Hathaway. How much is Berkshire Hathaway? One share, $1 million at this point?
That is true. Dana?
I would
Dog toys?
want
One dog toy.
my great-grandparents' original homestead is for sale
Oh, wow.
in the Black Hills of Wyoming, and I would need more than that amount, but that's what I would put it towards.
Leo Carino's
I would
parents?
actually-
My cousin and I fantasize about winning the lottery and getting it back.
I would
That's
now
nice.
buy her family plot and then resell it at an increased value.
To me.
I would buy gold from William Devane.
You've
Silver's
learned
also
well.
on its way up, Greg.
But yeah, but now's never been a better time to buy gold.
And you know what you could do? You could sleep so comfortably on your MyPillow.
Yes, exactly. All right. Okay, I asked that one already. Probably the best question we've ever had from Kimberly W. What is one word to describe your mood most of the time? That's a question you should ask yourself every day. What is the one word, be honest, to describe your mood most of the time?
We should answer for each other.
Ah, no, Marie, you have to answer for yourself.
I knew you
Nice. What's your what mood?
I've been really sad about the world lately. I know that's really depressing, but I'm usually a very happy person. But these last few months,
Sad?
cynical. I'm
You know what helps?
cynical right now, and
You know
I
what
never
helps?
used to be.
Booze.
I've tried that, Greg.
Really?
It's
Well,
not
you're not trying hard enough then.
Not helping.
Kennedy, one word.
One word. Curious.
No, very good.
Good one.
You are
Not
curious.
quite nosy, but get there.
Close. Yeah.
But you're a mom of preteens.
Jesse?
Exactly. What's in there?
Bewildered. Honestly,
You have no idea why you're here, do you?
slightly bewildered, but amused.
Yes. Dana?
Cheerful.
Yeah, of course. You're cheerful.
sad and she's
You're cheerful because only you would like to get air blasted into your eyeball.
Yay.
I'm going to say calm. No. Anxious. I am anxious.
Stressed.
I would say anxious.
Anxious.
I'm a consistent anxious from the morning to the evening.
You don't have ups and downs with
Not
your
really. I
anxiety?
can wake up you can wake me up in the middle of the night and I will still be anxious. My dreams are anxious. Do you hear a phone?
Somebody's phone's ringing.
One more thing is up next. Where's that phone?
Right, it's time now for one more thing, Greg.
Tomorrow night, the greatest show ever, Jesse. The Greg Gutfeld Show. Oh, I forgot to do that. Greg's plug. Saints pointed at my hair. Old joke. Probably should die now. Okay, The Greg Gutfeld Show. Saturday, March 2nd. I got Emily Campagno, Joe DeVito, Cat Tip, entire 10 p.m. Check it out. And for another plug, let's just take a look at what happened last night, shall we?
Jesse Waters and Greg Gutfeld.
I cook almost every night for the children. You know, I go down to the orphanage and I cook.
Everything he's saying is wrong. Oh, God, I knew that.
I crushed you like a bug!
Greg Gutfeld, you are impressive. I will give you my Eric Wempel mug next time I see you. You're going to face off against a 12-time Jeopardy champion. Good luck.
He's never given me any mugs. So Tucker is dishonest.
Aw.
I'm done.
Fake news. Fake news. All right, Jesse, you're next.
I'm glad we did that because I'm filing an official complaint about last night's show.
Yes.
With whom?
With the Tucker producers because Greg answered a question wrongly. He mispronounced AOC's name. He said her middle name was not Ocasio. He said it was Octavia. And he still was awarded a point. Listen.
Wow.
You can take the point away.
AOC.
Greg Gutfeld, AOC, can you be more specific?
Alexandria Octavia-Cortez.
Alexandria Octavia-Cortez. Alexandria Octavia-Cortez.
I want the point back.
You can have the point. I'll give you the point.
I still lose with the point.
You still lose. But by the way, the Oprah question was wrong, too, because it's not in the Bible. Her name's spelled differently.
That was the one question I got right.
I know.
I'm leaving that.
You got a biblical question right?
Yeah, listen, and I scored better than Dana.
Everybody did. Do you want to plug your show?
Yes, also the second best show apparently in the world, Water's World, 8 p.m. Eastern. We have the impersonators of Trump and Kim there to have their third summit. We also have a controversy at a dog park. Some woman called the police when another dog humped her dog. Listen.
Oh, that's a story I didn't do.
That's inappropriate for the dog park.
No, it's not.
I know it's
Dogs
normal.
humping each other, and she's calling the cops because my dog humped her dog. I took him off. I know it's my opinion, but you don't call the cops over it.
That's great.
Corey Lewandowski weighs in on the dog park sex scandal.
Nope.
You have to hear it.
No, does he agree that that's ridiculous?
I'm going to let you watch it.
I mean, I'm going to watch because that is ridiculous. I'd like to I should have come on.
That's must-see.
That's a great story. I wish I had that on my show.
All right. Okay, after 34 years on the force, take a look at this guy, Detective John Riley. He's retiring from the New York Police Department's mounted unit. He's been a part of the mounted team for 24 years and has been the sole mounted patrolman in Central Park for 10 years. Wow. He has a trusty steed named Trooper. He's 15 years old. He's also retiring. He's been 11 years on the job, Detective Riley. He was reluctant to retire because of how much he's loved his job. He said, where else can you get paid to ride a horse in Central Park? They will have their old beat covered by several different teams, but they will certainly be missed. They were a real fixture there. Detective Riley and Trooper, we salute you and thank you for your service.
Lovely.
Marie?
So every night at 6 p.m. Eastern, you can check out Benson and Harf on Fox News Radio, on Fox Nation, at bensonandharf.com. Tonight we have a huge show. My co-host Guy Benson's at CPAC. Interviewed Senator Josh Hawley, Senator Joni Ernst, the EPA administrator.
Did he catch Diamond and Silk?
I don't think that's actually...
Because they were there.
No. And Andy Wheeler. And then a cute other animal story. So watch Benson and Harf. But a cute animal story about a rat. This fat little rat
Is that Michael Cohen?
Got stuck in a manhole cover in Germany. Firefighters rescued him. Yeah. One rescuer said the rat has a lot of winter flab. Was stuck fast
a little less cheese, rat. A little less cheese. All right, Kennedy.
A little more keto. Judith Strang of Flower Mound, Texas. She went to a lovely place in Iceland called Jökulsárlón, and she found an ice throne. Her roasty rump melted it just enough that a big wave came along and swept her out to sea.
Oh, wow.
Judith, tell me she didn't perish. She didn't, because an Icelandic boat captain who knew all about dangerous water rescues went out and plucked her from nature's devil grasp, and she was returned safely, thankfully, to her family. She will probably never sit that lusty bottom in an ice throne again.
Nope. Where do you find these things? You got some good one more things, Kennedy.
Thank you very much, Dana Perino.
Everyone, you did a very nice job tonight. I was really like to be on your team.
Yeah, good try tonight.
I know you never like what I do, Greg, but that's okay. All right, that's it for us. We will be back here on Monday. A special report is up next. We have Shannon Breen.
Dana, great to see you.